Have you ever felt alone in a crowded room? Like the world is moving forward, but you're standing still. There's a unique kind of strength required to face life when you have no one to lean on. No friends, no support system, no one cheering for you, but maybe, just maybe, that solitude is where your power lies. In the silence, you discover who you really are. In the isolation, you forge a strength that no one can take away. Today, we're talking about turning loneliness into fuel for greatness. And if you've ever felt like no one's in your corner, this speech is for you. Loneliness is not a weakness, it's a test. It's a challenge presented to you by life, asking whether you have the courage to stand tall when the world grows silent. Most people fear solitude because they believe it strips them of their worth, their identity, or their purpose. But the truth is, solitude doesn't take anything from you. It reveals everything about you. It's in those quiet, isolated moments where you are forced to confront yourself, your fears, your insecurities, and your strengths. That's where you discover what you're really made of. That's where you learn how strong you truly are. When you find yourself without a crowd, without a support system, without friends to lean on, it's easy to feel like you've lost something vital. But you haven't lost anything. You've been given an opportunity. You've been given the chance to embrace the power of your own company. You've been handed a moment to stand on your own 2 feet, to look in the mirror, and to understand who you are without the noise of other people's opinions, expectations, or distractions. There's a raw power in learning to be comfortable with yourself, in realizing that you are enough, just as you are. The world tells you that being alone is a sign of failure, that having no friends means you're unworthy or unloved, but that's a lie. Being alone is not a failure, it's a starting point. It's a moment to reset, to recalibrate, to focus on what truly matters. It's a time to step away from the chaos and distractions and say, who am I? What do I stand for? What do I want out of this life? Those are the questions that only solitude can force you to answer. And in answering them, you begin to build a foundation of strength that no one can take from you. When you embrace solitude, you stop depending on others to validate your existence. You stop chasing approval, stop bending yourself into shapes that don't fit just to be accepted. Instead, you start defining your own worth. You begin to see that your value is not determined by how many people like you, how many friends you have, or how much attention you receive. Your value is intrinsic. It's in the effort you put into your life, the discipline you cultivate, the courage you show in the face of adversity. And once you understand that, no one can ever diminish your self-worth again. In solitude, you learn to trust yourself. You stop looking for someone else to solve your problems or save you from your struggles. You realize that the answers you've been seeking from the outside world have been within you all along. And that's not an easy lesson to learn. It's hard to sit with yourself, to face the truth about who you are, the mistakes you've made, the fears you've been avoiding. But that's where growth happens. That's where transformation begins. In those moments of self-reflection, you begin to take responsibility for your life, your choices, your future. There's something profound about walking through the fire of loneliness and coming out on the other side. It changes you. It strips away the unnecessary, the superficial, and leaves you with what's real. You start to see the world differently. You stop wasting time on things that don't matter, stop seeking fulfillment in places where it can't be found. Instead, you start focusing on your purpose, on the work you were meant to do, on the legacy you want to leave behind. That's the gift of solitude. It forces you to clarify your vision, to cut through the noise, and to see what truly matters. Loneliness is not a punishment, it's preparation. It's life's way of sharpening you, of molding you into someone who doesn't crumble under pressure, who doesn't need constant reassurance to keep moving forward. It's a chance to develop resilience, to strengthen your spirit, to build a foundation so solid that no storm can shake it. And when you emerge from that solitude, when you've embraced it and learned from it, you will be unstoppable. Because you'll no longer be afraid of being alone. You'll know that you can handle anything, that you don't need anyone else to define your worth or determine your destiny. In the silence, you find clarity. In the stillness, you find strength. In the absence of others, you discover the power of yourself. When you don't have a safety net, you realize very quickly what you're made of. When there's no one to catch you, no one to pat you on the back, no one to pull you up when you fall, you discover a level of resilience within yourself that you might not have even known existed. That's the beauty of being on your own. It forces you to dig deep, to stand up, and to figure out how to keep moving forward no matter what life throws at you. Without the crutch of a support system, you learn to rely on yourself. You become your own source of strength, your own motivator, your own problem solver. And let me tell you something, that's not a weakness, it's the foundation of greatness. There's a kind of toughness that can only come from standing alone. A toughness that says, I may be down, but I'm never out of toughness, that allows you to walk into any room, face any challenge, and hold your head high because you know you've already survived worse. Some people think that having no one to lean on is a disadvantage, but that couldn't be further from the truth. Yes, it's hard. Yes, it's lonely. But it's also the fire that forges your character. It's the pressure that turns coal into a diamond. When you're forced to rely solely on yourself, you develop a strength and independence that can never be taken away. You don't have to wait for someone to give you permission to chase your dreams. You don't have to wait for encouragement to keep going. You don't have to wait for someone else to solve your problems because you know you've got the tools to figure it out on your own. It's in those moments of struggle, those moments of doubt, those moments when you feel like giving up, that you realize just how capable you are. Because you don't have the luxury of quitting. There's no one there to pick up the pieces if you fall apart, so you keep going. You keep pushing. And with every step, you get stronger. With every challenge you overcome, you gain more confidence in your ability to handle whatever comes next. When you rely on yourself, you stop waiting for the world to give you what you need. You stop looking for someone to save you, to fix your problems, or to validate your worth. You become the architect of your own life. You start to understand that your future isn't determined by what happens to you, it's determined by how you respond to it. And when you take ownership of that, when you take full responsibility for your life, you become unstoppable. But let me be clear, this kind of strength doesn't come easily. It's built in the moments when you're tired, when you're scared, when you're unsure of what to do next. It's built in the moments when you have to figure it out. Even when you don't feel ready, even when you don't think you can. It's built in the moments when you keep going, even when everything in you wants to stop. That's the kind of strength that no one can teach you. It's the kind of strength you have to earn. You learn to talk to yourself in a way that builds you up instead of tearing you down. You become your own coach, reminding yourself of your goals, your purpose, and your why. You learn to celebrate your own victories, even if no one else notices. You become your own cheerleader, finding motivation from within instead of waiting for it to come from the outside. And in doing so, you build a foundation of self-reliance that can withstand anything. Life is going to test you. It's going to throw obstacles in your path, knock you down, and leave you wondering if you've got what it takes to keep going. And when you don't have anyone else to lean on, you've got two choices. You can let it break you, or you can let it build you. You can let the loneliness defeat you, or you can let it teach you. Because every time you pick yourself back up, every time you face a challenge head on, every time you keep moving forward despite the odds, you're proving to yourself just how strong you are. You learn to trust yourself in ways you never thought possible. You stop doubting your ability to handle whatever comes your way. And that trust, that faith in yourself becomes a kind of armor. It protects you from the negativity, the doubt, the fear that would otherwise hold you back. It gives you the courage to take risks, to step outside your comfort zone, to chase after the life you want, even when it feels impossible.
When you find yourself alone, truly alone, the noise of the world fades away. It's quiet, and that quiet can feel unbearable at first. But in that stillness, something remarkable happens. You start to hear yourself. For the first time in a long time, you can listen to your thoughts without interruption. You can ask yourself the questions you've been avoiding, questions that cut deep, questions that demand answers. And it's in that silence, in that uncomfortable solitude, that your purpose begins to reveal itself. Purpose isn't something you stumble upon. It's not something handed to you on a silver platter. It's something you have to dig for, something you have to fight for. It's hidden beneath layers of doubt, fear, and distraction. And the only way to uncover it is to strip those layers away. That's what loneliness does. It strips away everything that's not essential. It forces you to confront what's real, what's true, and what's important. When you don't have friends to distract you or a crowd to blend into, you're left with the most important question of all: why am I here? That's not an easy question to answer. It's daunting, overwhelming, even terrifying at times. But it's also liberating. Because once you start asking that question, you're on the path to discovering something greater than yourself. You're on the path to finding the reason you get up in the morning, the reason you keep going even when it's hard, the reason you're willing to fight, to struggle, to sacrifice. In those moments of solitude, you have the opportunity to look inward and ask yourself, what do I want my life to stand for? Not what others expect of you, not what society tells you, but what you, deep down in your soul, know you're meant to do. That kind of clarity doesn't come when you're surrounded by noise and chaos. It comes in the stillness, in the quiet moments when it's just you and your thoughts. You start to see the patterns in your life, the things that light you up, the things that drain you, the things that make you feel alive. You begin to recognize your gifts, your strengths, your unique contributions. And once you see them, you can't unsee them. You realize that you were put on this earth for a reason, that you have something to offer, something that no one else can. That's your purpose. That's your why. But purpose isn't just about recognizing your gifts, it's about using them. It's about taking what you've been given and using it to make a difference, to leave the world better than you found it. It's about stepping into your potential, even when it's scary, even when it's uncomfortable. Because purpose isn't easy. It's not supposed to be. It's supposed to challenge you, to push you, to stretch you in ways you never thought possible. That's how you grow. That's how you become the person you were meant to be. When you're alone, you have the chance to focus on what truly matters. You're not distracted by the opinions of others or pulled in a dozen different directions. You can pour your energy into the things that align with your purpose, the things that bring you closer to the life you want to live. And in doing so, you find a sense of fulfillment that no amount of external validation can provide. Your purpose gives you a reason to keep going when life gets hard. It gives you a sense of direction when everything feels chaotic and uncertain. It anchors you, grounds you, and reminds you of what's truly important. And the best part, it's yours. No one can take it from you. No one can diminish it or undermine it. It belongs to you and you alone. But purpose doesn't come fully formed. It's not something you wake up one day and suddenly understand. It's something you uncover little by little, step by step. It's a process, a journey, and every step you take brings you closer to it. Every moment of self-reflection, every challenge you overcome, every risk you take, it all leads you closer to discovering who you are and what you're meant to do. Solitude isn't a punishment, it's an opportunity. It's a chance to step away from the noise, to tune out the distractions, and to focus on what truly matters. It's a chance to ask the big questions, to confront the hard truths, and to start building a life that aligns with your values, your passions, and your purpose. Because when you know your purpose, when you truly understand your why, nothing can stop you. Being alone is not the end of the story, it's the beginning of a new chapter. And in that chapter, you get to rewrite the narrative. Solitude isn't a life sentence to loneliness, it's an opportunity to rebuild, to grow, and to create a version of yourself that's stronger, wiser, and more focused. When you're left with nothing but yourself, that's when the real work begins. It's not easy, it's not glamorous, but it's necessary. Because what you do in those moments of isolation will determine the kind of future you create for yourself. Life has a way of forcing you to start over when you least expect it. Friends drift away, relationships change, and suddenly you find yourself in a place you never thought you'd be alone. And it's in that space, when the noise dies down, that you have a choice. You can sit there and dwell on what you've lost, or you can take a hard look at yourself and ask, what kind of life do I want to build from here? Because the truth is, being alone isn't the same as being stuck. It's not a dead end, it's a blank canvas. It's a chance to create a life that's entirely your own, without the influence of others pulling you in different directions. You get to decide what stays and what goes. You get to choose the habits, the values, and the goals that align with who you truly are. And most importantly, you get to become the person you've always known you could be. This isn't about pretending it's easy. It's not. Building a future where you thrive takes work. It takes discipline. It takes showing up every single day, even when you don't feel like it. But that's the beauty of it. It's yours. No one else can do it for you, and no one else can take it away. Every step you take, every decision you make, every hour you spend working toward your goals, it all adds up. And one day you'll look back and realize that the life you've built is a direct result of the effort you put in when no one else was watching. Being alone gives you the space to focus on what really matters. You don't have to compromise your vision to fit someone else's expectations. You don't have to dilute your dreams to make others comfortable. You get to pursue what's important to you with a single-minded determination that's hard to come by when you're constantly surrounded by people. That focus, that clarity, it's a gift. It's what allows you to make real progress, to move closer to the life you've always wanted, one step at a time. And as you work toward that future, something incredible happens. The person you become in the process starts to attract the right kind of people. The relationships you build from that place of authenticity are deeper, more meaningful, and more aligned with your values. Because when you've done the work on yourself, when you've built a life that reflects who you truly are, you naturally draw in others who appreciate and support that version of you. But it all starts with you. It starts with your willingness to face the hard truths, to confront the parts of yourself that need to change, and to take responsibility for your own happiness. No one else can do it for you. No one else can create the life you want. That's on you. And while that might sound daunting, it's also incredibly empowering. Because if it's up to you, that means you have the power to make it happen. You have the power to turn your pain into purpose, your setbacks into comebacks, and your loneliness into strength. You have the power to take the lessons you've learned from your struggles and use them to build a future that's brighter and more fulfilling than anything you've experienced before. But it starts with the decision to take action, to stop waiting for someone else to save you, and to start saving yourself. Every day is an opportunity to move closer to the life you want. Every decision you make, every habit you cultivate, every goal you set, it all matters. It all adds up. And the best part is you're in control. You get to decide how your story unfolds. You get to choose the kind of future you want to create. And no matter how hard it gets, no matter how lonely it feels, you have everything you need to make it happen. It's all within you. It always has been.
The most profound transformation doesn't happen when you're surrounded by applause, approval, or admiration. It happens in the quiet, often painful moments when you're left alone with nothing but your thoughts. In those moments, you discover the raw truth about who you are. You see yourself stripped of pretense, stripped of performance, stripped of the validation that comes from others. It's just you, and the mirror life holds up. And it's in that reflection where real growth begins. Because here's the truth: life doesn't give you strength, it demands that you find it. It doesn't hand you wisdom, you earn it through struggle. And when you're alone, when you don't have a crowd cheering you on, that's when you truly find out what you're made of. There's no one to lean on, no one to take the weight off your shoulders. It's just you and the challenges you're facing. And that's exactly when you start to build the kind of resilience that can carry you through anything. Most people fear those moments of solitude. They try to fill the silence, to distract themselves from the discomfort, to avoid the hard truths they might have to face. But you can't grow if you're always running from yourself. You can't become the person you were meant to be if you're too afraid to sit with your own thoughts. Growth requires honesty, and honesty requires solitude. It's in those moments of loneliness that you can finally confront the parts of yourself that need to change. When you're alone, you can't hide from your fears, your failures, or your flaws. And while that might sound terrifying, it's also liberating. Because once you face those things head on, they lose their power over you. You realize that your fears don't define you. Your failures don't diminish you. Your flaws don't make you unworthy. They're just part of the journey, part of what makes you human. And the more you confront them, the more you learn from them, the stronger you become. There's a kind of clarity that comes from being alone. It forces you to strip away the unnecessary, to let go of the things that no longer serve you. You start to see what truly matters, what's worth your time, your energy, your focus. And as you let go of the distractions, the noise, the superficial relationships, you make room for something deeper, something more meaningful. You make room for growth, for transformation, for purpose. But growth isn't passive. It's not something that happens to you, it's something you have to choose. You have to decide to use your solitude as a tool for self-discovery, as an opportunity to build yourself up instead of tearing yourself down. That means being intentional with your time, your energy, your thoughts. It means choosing to see your loneliness not as a burden, but as a chance to become stronger, wiser, and more self-reliant. When you embrace the challenge of being alone, you start to develop a kind of inner strength that no one can take from you. You stop depending on external validation to feel good about yourself. You stop needing other people to fill the gaps in your life. Instead, you become whole on your own. You become someone who can stand tall, even when the world feels like it's against you. And that kind of strength, it's unshakable. There's power in learning to rely on yourself, in becoming your own source of motivation, your own source of comfort, your own source of guidance. It's not about shutting people out or refusing to accept help when you need it. It's about knowing that at the end of the day, you can handle whatever comes your way. You can weather the storm, not because someone else is holding you up, but because you've built a foundation of strength within yourself. And that strength doesn't just benefit you, it benefits everyone around you. When you've done the work on yourself, when you've faced your fears, embraced your struggles and grown from them, you become a beacon of light for others. You show them what's possible. You show them that it's okay to be alone, that it's okay to struggle, that it's okay to grow. Your strength inspires others to find their own, to confront their own challenges, to embrace their own journeys. So don't fear the moments when you find yourself alone. Don't see them as a punishment or a setback. See them for what they really are, a chance to grow, to learn, to transform. Because in those moments when it's just you and your thoughts, you have the opportunity to become the person you were always meant to be. You have the chance to build a life that reflects your values, your purpose, your truth. And that's a gift that no one can take from you. When you're standing alone, isolated from the world, and it feels like there's no one in your corner, you have a choice to make. You can either let that loneliness define you, or you can use it to fuel your fire. The absence of others doesn't mean the absence of greatness. In fact, it's in those moments when no one else is around that you truly have the freedom to focus on yourself, to build, to grow, and to transform in ways that are impossible when you're weighed down by the expectations and opinions of others. In solitude, you discover the truth about effort. Not the kind of effort that's performative, done to impress or gain recognition, but the kind of effort that's raw, authentic, and deeply personal. It's the quiet work, the kind no one sees, that makes the loudest difference in your life. Because the reality is, the foundation of success is built in private. It's not the applause of a crowd that shapes you, but the discipline to show up for yourself every single day, even when no one is watching. When there's no one to pat you on the back, no one to cheer you on, and no one to hold you accountable, that's when you find out what you're truly capable of. You learn to dig deep, to push past your limits, to keep going even when it feels like the whole world is against you. That kind of drive doesn't come from external validation, it comes from within. It comes from the understanding that your effort, your work, and your determination are what will carry you forward. And it's not just about working hard, it's about working with intention. It's about aligning your effort with your purpose, about channeling your energy into the things that truly matter. When you're alone, you have the clarity to see what's worth your time and what's not. You're not distracted by the noise, the drama, or the superficial. You can focus on the goals that set your soul on fire, the ones that keep you up at night because you know they're worth pursuing. Effort is the great equalizer. It doesn't matter where you come from, what you've been through, or what you've lost. What matters is what you're willing to do with what you have. Are you willing to put in the work, even when it's hard? Are you willing to take the first step, even when the path ahead seems uncertain? Are you willing to keep going, even when it feels like no one else believes in you? Because that's what it takes to succeed. That's what it takes to turn your dreams into reality. When you embrace the power of effort, you stop waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect opportunity, or the perfect circumstances. You realize that perfection is a myth, and that the only way to move forward is to start where you are, with what you have right now. It doesn't matter if you're starting from scratch or if you've fallen 100 times before. What matters is that you get up, dust yourself off, and keep going. Effort doesn't guarantee immediate results, and it doesn't shield you from failure. But it does build character. It teaches you resilience, grit, and perseverance. It shows you that you're stronger than you think, braver than you believe, and more capable than you've ever imagined. And over time, as you continue to put in the work, you start to see the fruits of your labor. You start to see the life you've been working toward take shape. But here's the thing, effort isn't just about achieving your goals. It's about the person you become in the process. It's about developing the habits, the mindset, and the discipline that will serve you for the rest of your life. It's about proving to yourself that you can do hard things, that you can face challenges head on, and that you can create a life that's meaningful and fulfilling. There's something incredibly empowering about knowing that your effort is what makes the difference. It means you're not a victim of your circumstances, that your future isn't determined by your past, and that you have the power to change your life. It means that no matter how hard things get, no matter how lonely the road feels, you can keep moving forward. Because effort is always within your control. When you put in the work, when you refuse to give up, when you commit to yourself and your goals, you become unstoppable. You may not have the support of others, but you have something even more valuable than knowledge that you're capable of creating your own success. That knowledge is a gift, a source of strength that will carry you through the darkest times and propel you toward the brightest future. This speech challenges you to rethink loneliness not as an obstacle, but as a stepping stone. It's a call to embrace solitude, not as your enemy, but as your ally. Because the most powerful person in the world is not the one surrounded by admirers, but the one who knows their worth when no one else is watching. If you are a woman or anyone who feels alone, take heart. This is not the end of your story. It's the beginning of your transformation.